Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Sneha Koshy. Let's just get you through the entire roundup of all that's happening around you. The Supreme Court has started hearing a PIL filed by the Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association, pushing for stronger reforms to improve women's safety across India. The timing is significant. It coincides with the anniversary of the 2012 Nirbhaya horror, which shook the nation and sparked demands for change. So what's being discussed? Well, the association is calling, or the association's president is calling for nationwide measures to protect women, children and transgender individuals, like mandatory CCTV at workplaces and fast-tracking trials for sexual offences. Senior advocate Mahalakshmi Pavani highlighted that many cases, especially in smaller cities, go unreported. One controversial suggestion is chemical castration for convicted offenders. Justice Surya Kant wasn't on board, calling it barbaric, though he supported ideas like public behavior codes and awareness drives. The petition also seeks a ban on free online porn, linking it to rising sexual crimes. The court, however, pointed out that this is more of a legislative matter. The court has asked for responses from various ministries and will revisit the issue in January 2025. While acknowledging the need for change, the bench cautioned against overly harsh or impractical solutions. And I'm being joined by my colleagues at this point, Kritika Tiwari, who joins us from Delhi, Sneha Koshy from Bengaluru, as well as Abhishek Avasti from Mumbai. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, straight to you, Kritika Tiwari, and to all of our colleagues. Kritika first, what's the kind of responses that you're getting from around you?
Yes, definitely. We've been speaking to a few women over the past half an hour, and they are saying that definitely more needs to be done. On a policy level also, there are a lot of gaps that needs to be filled in. We're also being joined by a resident of Delhi, in fact. Ma'am, you were saying something about how more education is required. Would you like to tell our viewers more about it?
Yes, I would like to say, like,
okay.
parents should teach their kids, like especially boys, that how you should behave with girls, because you know when parents don't educate them, and when boys grow up at the age of puberty, they they approach new things, they approach new people, and their perspective about what girl is, it depends on that. But if we are teaching our own kids, small boys, that you should respect girls, उनको कैसे इज्जत देनी है, they are not something to eat on. तो वहाँ पे क्या होगा? Boys will be educated. They will understand. नहीं, मुझे इज्जत करनी है. I have to touch their feet.
On a similar point, आज petition में lawyers were also raising how maybe a ban on then pornographic material that is freely available can also be a step. And as you were saying, how education is important from a young perspective. एक social code कि bus में how people need to behave. All of these should also be regulated. What do you feel about that?
Yes, but to an extent, because just by watching pornography, their mindset doesn't, कि इस बंदे को मुझे कैसे छेड़ना है या how they should treat girls. It doesn't depend on that. Pornography people use for various other things, right? उनकी खुद की मर्जी है वो देखे या ना देखे, लेकिन but उसके बाद उनका क्या perspective होना चाहिए, that should be our main concern.
Right.
So it doesn't matter that much, but to an extent it will obviously be very useful. Kuch type of pornography, like they have various things going on internet, so it should be banned. जो बहुत ज़्यादा extreme level cases है, it should be banned.
And for public transport,
right?
Specifically in Delhi, we've seen 12 years ago how an incident happened. Do you have a similar opinion for that?
Actually, this incident happened very nearby to the place I lived. I lived in Vasanyar, so it happened there only. So we were actually shocked, and people should be educated. अगर कोई लड़की आपको road side पे मिली है in such a situation, they should look and help her. But instead
of just being a bystander. Right. So, Sneha, this is what we were picking up
Okay,
from
Kritika.
Delhi. In fact, that more sensitivity and definitely education from a young age is what is required. Yes.
Thank you very much. Sneha Koshy joins us right now from Bengaluru. Sneha, How are people responding to it? I mean, there are some countries that do allow for chemical castration. That's just one of the demands that they have made. The judge did go on to say that this is extremely barbaric, but has sought for responses. But that's just one part of the plea. How are people responding? Do they see any change after the Nirbhaya horror?
Well, Sneha, yes, women's safety has always been our focus on Mirror Now. And yet again, here we are talking about what happened in the Supreme Court today. With the Supreme Court, of course, even considering to examine this plea now, the PIL here that's been filed for separate guidelines to be formed on women's safety. Taking this across now to two working women who are joining us in the IT capital today. Ma'am, I want to start by asking you, there's a plea now that's been filed in the Supreme Court which says that there should be separate guidelines for women's safety. One of the many demands in that was chemical castration, for, in fact, perpetrators of crime. There was also a discussion about how, many sexual offences against women often go unreported or go under the carpet. As a working woman today, what are your thoughts on what's taken place today?
So whatever the decision is, I'm glad about it, but I don't have much hopes foreseeing everything that has been happening in the past. And, women protection is not confined to just one area, one city. There are a lot of streets, a lot of offices, a lot of women are working in various places, and I'm not much hopeful about this. If this goes in a good way, I'd be happy about it, but I would want to see more what action is being taken about this.
Yeah. Ma'am, now, we talk a lot about the need for legal reforms, and saying that policy changes, legal reforms is the only way forward for actual change to really come about on ground. As a woman today, I have two questions. One, how safe do you feel, in the country, of course, and in Bengaluru as a city on the whole? And two, do you feel extreme measures like, chemical castration or others that have been listed today is the way forward for, of course, whether it's accused or perpetrators of sexual offences against women?
Right. First of all, when it comes to women's safety, I think every single woman out there who's walking on the street, who's in office, they are scared. In Bengaluru, I think I might have faced one or two issues, but overall in my life, it's uncountable, right? And even when you're sitting alone in office, there have been days when I have sat alone in office and I still feel so scared being there because again, the thing that happened with the doctor in Calcutta, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of fear has engulfed with the numerous cases that have been happening across the country or the world for women. So no, I don't think women ever feel safe if they are stepping.
Okay.
I mean, there are times when you are, letting loose, but most of the time we are always... Okay. You don't know what's the next
Very
step.
quickly, I want to take a question from you. Do you think harsh punishments like chemical castration and others that are listed, the Supreme Court calls it barbaric, do you think that is the way forward?
If any barbaric activity is done, I think it is time that we also become barbaric as a government. Thank you.
Well, Sneha, of course, as always, vocal women in Bengaluru today saying that, if that's what it is, then so be it. Of course, the Kolkata incident still leaving horrific nightmares for many women today, especially working women. Back to you.
Right. Neha, thank you very much for joining us. In fact, I'm also being joined by my colleague Abhishek Avasthi at this point. Abhishek, what are you hearing?
See, definitely, time and again there are several guidelines in place, but we don't see the crime against women decreasing. And safety of women is still a concern. We have been joined by them from Mumbai. If I would like to understand, chemical castration is one of the solution. Do you agree to that?
I would not agree. Simple reason would be, especially after the Atul case, I think we have to be sensitive towards men also, and it's very easy to misuse these kind of severe punishments. So at least I would not agree.
At least today Supreme Court was hearing this fresh plea, and it has directed, given notice to the central government. What more guidelines, new guidelines that you look forward should be added that will allow you to feel safe in future?
I feel, firstly, from the government side, there are a lot of CCTVs, but they are not really under surveillance. So what happens is we are actually catching the criminals after the crime is done. If we have timely surveillance, we can catch them before the crime happens. We can do some prevention better than catching them later.
One more suggestion if you want to give.
From our side, what we can do is, I think... I'm learning MMA myself, and I think every girl should learn self-defense. It should be a part of the school's curriculum. because, we should not be waiting for a Superman to come and save us. We should be able to do at least a little bit ourselves.
Definitely. And what do you think, if we are growing up in society, so what are the suggestions that would you like to come forward to? Because there are many guidelines in place, but what we need to incorporate?
I think gender sensitization is one of the most important things kids need to be taught. So gender sensitization is when you're making people aware that you need to be equal towards both genders. So I think that's not something that just you just develop in a day or two. That should be taught to you over the years. That is something that would really help make people sensitive towards the cases happening.
See, definitely, gender sensitization and at the same time self-defense that needs to be taught from the school days itself. These are the things that will, at least we can sow the seed at this given point of time and they will bear fruits in future. And this is what something that needs to be added in those new guidelines that will definitely be, presented before the Supreme Court. And again, there are a number of guidelines, but we can't see that replicating when it comes to the crime against women decreasing. So there should be a sense that how gender sensitization in itself in the society will help to reduce such activities against women, and women will feel more safe across the country. Back to you.
Abhishek, thank you very much for joining us. Our focus was an attempt to really try and understand how women think about this years after the Nirbhaya horror, unsafe spaces all around, but are harsh steps, harsh outcomes of laws really the way out when there are already laws in place? Shifting our focus for now